plan to have who will be the first quarterback in the game?
Shedeur. Yeah.
Is Dylan Gabriel going to be like second quarter? He's out there because Flacco just needs a minute in the blue tent.
Yeah, that feels likely.
And if it's Shedeur Sanders and he starts balling,
then what?
Everything changes in a bat of an eye.
Yeah.
He's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day. He's saying all the right things, trying to elevate his level of play. And remember, up until this past weekend, we did think there was a legitimate argument that he should have been higher on the depth chart than Dylan Gabriel because he performed better against Carolina than Dylan Gabriel had performed in the preseason game against the Eagles. It's just that obviously he nosedived over this last week, and so the tenor of the conversation changed. He really hasn't done it. I mean, he hasn't gotten in any trouble. I mean, he hasn't been saying the wrong things. He hasn't been a less than a model citizen focused on, being the best that he can be. He hasn't done anything. So I think that when we look at it, he's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day.
Kevin Stefanski made it clear that Shedeur Sanders will keep getting opportunities regardless of any new additions, identifying him as the club's emergency option moving forward. That stance set off fresh debate. If the Browns didn't plan to lean on Bailey Zappi, why bring him in at all? Zappi wasn't signed to be the starter. He's roster insurance, a safety net if the season throws a curveball. In practice, this points to Shedeur remaining the next man up at quarterback 1 if circumstances demand it. Cleveland's decision to add Bailey Zappi looks like a depth play, rather than a push to crown a new starter. It's a precaution meant to reduce the risk of getting thin at quarterback over a long season. By signing Zappi, the Browns keep their options open without committing to a full reset at the position. The move isn't about replacing Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel. It's about maintaining coverage in case injuries or other issues hit the room. Overall, the message is simple. Shedeur stays in the primary development and contingency lane, while Zappi provides stability and flexibility behind the scenes.
I like the fact that they have him there. I think he'll be good in practice. He'll be good for some of those younger guys in helping them to prepare for a game and whatnot.
The Browns added Bailey Zappi primarily to steady the room and support their young quarterbacks this season. According to Mary Kay Cabot, his day-to-day will center on helping install weekly game plans, getting the QBs ready for opponents, and being prepared to step in if injuries hit. Cabot also noted he could become a quietly valuable piece. At the same time, the move may hint that Dylan Gabriel is drawing trade interest. Several teams are reportedly checking in, especially after Kenny Pickett's recent deal. With Gabriel in the spotlight, speculation is growing that Shedeur Sanders could be only a few games from settling in as the number 2, creating a real opening for him. Stephen A. Smith weighed in as well, emphasizing Sanders' steady climb and the momentum he's built. He argued that even before the latest preseason outing, Sanders had effectively moved ahead of Gabriel on the depth chart. Aside from a brief stumble last week, Smith said, Sanders has kept stacking positives, communicating cleanly with teammates, and staying locked on development. In his view, the Browns recognize Sanders' upside and are banking on continued growth as he evolves into a more impactful presence in the near future.
He really hasn't done it. I mean, he hasn't gotten in any trouble. I mean, he hasn't been saying the wrong things. He hasn't been a less than a model citizen focused on, being the best that he can be. He hasn't done anything. So I think that when we look at it, he's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day.
Stephen A. Smith underscored Shedeur Sanders' steady rise, emphasizing the real momentum behind his development. He said that even before the most recent preseason game, it was apparent Sanders had edged ahead of Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart. Smith added that, aside from a brief setback last week, Sanders has remained unbeaten, strengthened his communication with teammates, and is fully locked in on refining his craft. In Smith's view, the Browns clearly recognize Sanders' immense upside and are counting on him to keep growing into a more impactful, commanding presence as time goes on, a trajectory that reflects both his poise and the staff's increasing trust.
Going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day. He's saying all the right things, trying to elevate his level of play. And remember, up until this past weekend, we did think there was a legitimate argument that he should have been higher on the depth chart than Dylan Gabriel because he performed better against Carolina than Dylan Gabriel had performed in the preseason game against the Eagles. It's just that obviously he nosedived over this last week, and so the tenor of the conversation changed.
Stephen A. Smith's take lines up with head coach Kevin Stefanski's shifting approach to Shedeur Sanders. Lately, Stefanski has doubled down on developing Sanders and brushed off outside criticism. That's a notable change from earlier, when he downplayed concerns and offered sharper critiques. After the Kenny Pickett trade, the tone flipped. Sanders moved back into the spotlight with a real chance to prove himself. The timing matters, signaling the staff is ready to give him a genuine runway to show his upside.
I'm committed to his development. just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better. And that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
Several analysts have weighed in on Shedeur Sanders' push for the QB2 job, and many point to Dillon Gabriel's size as a potential long-term hurdle to holding that role. Mike Tannenbaum praised Gabriel's calm, efficient preseason and acknowledged his skill, but he also flagged height as a meaningful disadvantage at the NFL level, one that could make a trade scenario more realistic. Talent and mechanics matter, he noted, yet measurable limitations can be hard to mask over a full season, which might jeopardize Gabriel's grip on the backup spot and prompt teams to explore moves. Nick Wright echoed a similar theme. He credited Gabriel's ability and upside, but didn't sidestep the obvious constraint: size. Wright argued that while Gabriel can sharpen decision-making and accuracy, he can't change his frame, and that physical profile may complicate his path to becoming a steady NFL starter. By contrast, when stacked against Shedeur Sanders, who brings broader physical tools and a higher developmental ceiling, the gap becomes clearer. That comparison highlights the specific challenges Gabriel must overcome, and why momentum may be tilting toward Sanders for the QB2 role.
Gabriel, who through no fault of his own, commits one of my cardinal sins of quarterbacking, which is he's tiny. And so, he's tiny.
Mike Florio, senior NFL analyst, weighed in on the Browns' internal debate and suggested the team is seriously considering moving Dillon Gabriel. He cautioned that dealing Gabriel could thin out the quarterback competition, but he also framed it as a strong opening for Shedeur Sanders to step forward. With added reps and visibility, Sanders could make a real impression and lock himself in as a valuable QB2 option for a team that needs stability behind its starter. Florio also noted that after Kenny Pickett's departure, Cleveland may be even more inclined to explore a Gabriel trade. By contrast, Sanders is essentially off-limits in his view because of his massive fan base and the public blowback a trade would trigger. With the conversation getting louder, Florio believes moving Sanders would do more harm than good for the organization's relationship with its supporters. That's why Gabriel stands out as the more likely trade candidate as the Browns try to manage depth, keep momentum, and stay aligned with their fan.
This is one of the natural and foreseeable byproducts of drafting him. He comes to town with a built-in fan base. The mouth breathers, as you call them, are in tow. Not that I called them that, but you called them that.
Yeah,
they're there.
Rich Eisen weighed in on Cleveland's situation, saying that if Dillon Gabriel is moved and Shedeur Sanders slides into the QB2 role, it's likely only a matter of time before he's starting later in the year. Eisen argued that the promotion would give Sanders the runway to cement himself, and he's confident Sanders is on track to become QB1 at some point this season. The momentum is clearly tilting towards Sanders, positioning him to take over when the opportunity presents itself. Big picture, Kevin Stefanski's message that Shedeur Sanders is the next man up if anything happens to Joe Flacco is just one part of a broader shift. Factor in Sanders' steady growth, the coaching staff's evolving view, and the ongoing chatter about Gabriel's future, and it's clear Sanders isn't being framed as a mere emergency option. He's a real contender for QB1.
An opportunity now in Cleveland with a quarterback situation that, honestly, he can come out of and win the job. I think he'll do well. I really do. I think the kid works really hard. I think he loves the game of ball. And when it comes down to it, if you have a guy like that loves the game, obviously grown up around it his whole life, I think he'll be successful.
He has a tremendous luxury to change plays at the line of scrimmage and what he sees. But you got to take into account that this kid has started every game in his high school career. This kid has started every game in his college career but one. He's seen a lot of football. So it's not too many complex defenses that you could throw at him that he hadn't seen. He's seen all of them.
What happened behind the scenes in Miami last week left NFL scouts, general managers, and team owners completely shocked. Shedeur Sanders put on a performance that was so sharp, so precise, that even the most experienced talent evaluators, people who've been doing this for decades, are now second-guessing everything they thought they knew about quarterback play. The buzz started quietly on Tuesday. By Friday, it was all anyone in football circles could talk about. And now it makes total sense why Deion Sanders has been so confident about his son's NFL future. What you're about to hear could seriously shift the way you see the 2025 NFL Draft. But before getting into the details of that private session, take a second to think about this. How many times have we seen quarterbacks hyped up only to fall apart under real pressure. How often do college stars shine in the NCAA, but fold when they step into the NFL's high-stakes environment? The league's history is full of QBs who looked unstoppable in college, but couldn't cut it at the next level. That's exactly why what Shedeur did last week is so unbelievable. This wasn't a flashy highlight reel against weak college defenses. It wasn't a carefully edited clip designed to go viral. This was a real, high-stakes NFL-style workout, with all the pressure you can imagine. Here's what we know. About 3 weeks ago, word started to get around that Shedeur had scheduled a private workout in Miami. But this wasn't just any workout. It took place at a top-tier training facility, the kind of place where legends like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers go during the offseason to sharpen their skills. It's a spot known for its privacy and intensity, far away from media noise. But here's where things got really serious. Shedeur didn't just bring in a few position coaches or local scouts. He invited the big names, the harshest critics. These were evaluators who don't get impressed by flashy stats or famous families. Think former NFL defensive coordinators who've built entire careers on shutting down elite QBs. Think scouts who've analyzed everyone from Peyton Manning to Patrick Mahomes. And they all showed up, every one of them. Inside the facility, the vibe was intense. 15 NFL decision makers, execs, scouts, and coaches were spread across the field. Clipboards out, stopwatches ticking, no smiles, no reactions. Just stone-faced pros who don't hand out compliments lightly. Then Shedeur walked onto the field. No hype, no background music, no cameras trying to catch a viral moment. Just him, carrying the weight of his family name and the hopes of Colorado fans everywhere. The place went silent, and what followed? That's when everything changed.
I think he's done a great job. He's a super nice kid. Those guys, the people I work with that interview him and stuff, he's a great guy. He's just got to, he's got to kind of put himself under the radar and work every day, which he seems to be doing.
The first drill looked pretty basic on the surface. 40-yard throws to stationary targets. Seems simple, right? Not exactly. These weren't college-level wideouts standing out there. They brought in former NFL receivers, guys who really understand how to create separation and run routes with pro-level precision. These are the kinds of receivers who can truly expose whether a quarterback has what it takes or not. Shedeur steps up to the line. First throw, absolute laser. 40 yards, fast and clean. Tight spiral, right on target, hits the receiver perfectly in stride. Scouts glance at each other, but no reactions yet. They've seen strong arms before. Then comes the second throw. Still 40 yards, but now it's a comeback route, way more challenging. The timing has to be spot on. The throw needs to be out before the receiver even makes his cut. Shedeur doesn't just hit the pass. He reads it ahead of time, releasing the ball before the receiver even turns. When the ball lands right in the receiver's chest, just as he comes out of the break, even some of the veteran coaches are caught off guard. One scout literally drops his clipboard. And that was just the warm-up. The real challenge came next. Game simulation. Imagine this. A mock defense made up of former NFL players. Not fringe guys, but legit starters from just a couple of seasons ago. These defenders know how to bait quarterbacks, disguise their coverage, and turn up the pressure. Here's the setup. 2-minute drill. Down 6 points. 85 yards to go. No timeouts. It's the kind of pressure that usually breaks college quarterbacks and separates the real ones from the hype. Shedeur lines up under center. The defense shows one look, but you can tell something's coming. There's a shift about to happen. Classic disguise to force confusion. As soon as the ball is snapped, the coverage rotates, just like expected. Most young QBs would freeze, panic, or try to force something risky, but not Shedeur. He steps up into the pocket with the kind of calm you see from seasoned pros. Eyes downfield the entire time. Then, he sees it. A tiny window, open for maybe half a second. A slot receiver breaking on a dig route. The linebacker trailing just behind. That window is so tight most college QBs wouldn't even attempt it. But Shedeur doesn't hesitate. He fires a strike right between two defenders, hitting his receiver in perfect stride. The linebacker stops mid-step, stunned. The safety trying to rotate over just shakes his head, like he can't believe what he just saw. The scouts lean in. They know they're watching something rare. And the best part? this was only the beginning.
Incredibly accurate. He really understands not only offensive football, but he understands what you're doing as a defense. So he'll pick you apart that way. He processes quickly. Like, all those things to me are big time attributes. And I just remember last year at this time, Bo Nix falling. People saying, hey, Bo Nix is going to be a second rounder. And Bo Nix is not. By the way, that guy was one of the best.
But now they can't have him. The same people responsible for his slide in the draft are the ones scrambling. They called him cocky, arrogant, threw every label at him, hoping it would break him. But through it all, Shedeur stayed cool. He didn't let the noise shake him or throw him off course. His mindset never wavered. He knew exactly what he brought to the table, and no amount of criticism was going to change that. Instead of folding under the pressure, he locked in even more. Their doubt didn't shake him. It fueled him, because deep down, he knew that what he showed on that field wasn't some lucky moment. It was real. It was proof of who he is and what he's capable of becoming. And now, those same scouts are left second-guessing everything. They thought they had him figured out, but what they saw last week flipped their entire evaluation on its head. At first, they saw attitude. They saw confidence and labeled it arrogance. They judged him before really watching him. But Shedeur didn't let it affect him. Instead, he showed exactly who he is when the lights are the brightest. And now those same scouts, the ones who once questioned if he had what it takes, are sitting in silence, unsure of what they just witnessed. His performance is making waves, and suddenly their early opinions are starting to look shaky. They didn't just see a strong-armed college quarterback out there. They saw a leader, calm, smart, in total control. The more his confidence grows, the better he gets. And now, they're starting to realize they might have missed something big. What they once brushed off as ego now looks more like confidence that can't be rattled. And his ability to shine under pressure is forcing a lot of people to rethink how they evaluate talent. Every day that passes, the question gets louder. How long can they keep ignoring the guy they once dismissed? Have we ever seen a quarterback flip the narrative like Shedeur Sanders just did? How often do players get counted out because of assumptions or snap judgments? How many times is confidence mistaken for arrogance? And how much potential gets overlooked because of it? Maybe this is that turning point. Maybe those very traits we criticize in young players are actually the ones that turn them into something great. What if Shedeur is exactly the kind of quarterback the league's been missing? What if we're watching the start of something special? So what do you think? Could Shedeur Sanders be the real deal? And what kind of impact will his rise have on the 2025 NFL draft?
Really, really good. Proud of you. All right. Cool. Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
kinda proud.
Look, for the flip side, was a perfect no, but she made plays, she operated. Shedeur he's a very impressive young man. He's poised, he's calm, he's smart. You can tell that he's been raised by, really quite honestly, a Hall of Fame dad. Look, we're going to get to know him even more.
Andrew Berry is back and stunned everyone with a bold call. He bumped Shedeur Sanders ahead of Dillon Gabriel, jumping him from the 3rd spot to the 2nd. Here's the twist. Berry is all in on Shedeur, and it's intentional. He was the one inside the Browns organization who pushed for Shedeur to join the team. We saw the signs in the preseason. Berry clearly wanted Shedeur Sanders to break through and succeed in the NFL.
In regards to Shedeur and Theon's not going to interfere. Theon's not going to be calling the coach. Theon's not going to be commenting about Shedeur while he's in Colorado. Lou, I think there's a lot of just fake news out there.
All spring, Andrew Berry zeroed in on Shedeur Sanders. His initial plan was to get him in the 1st or 2nd round. When the board didn't break that way, you could see the urgency. By round 5, Berry pushed the issue. He pressed the Haslams to greenlight the pick and bring Shedeur to Cleveland. His pitch covered more than arm talent and processing speed. He emphasized Shedeur's market presence and ability to lift the franchise's profile. That combination sealed it, and the Browns made the move. From there, Shedeur quickly became one of the team's most visible figures, which many around the league expected. Cleveland then moved Kenny Pickett, narrowing the depth chart traffic and giving Shedeur a cleaner runway to compete for meaningful snaps. The message was simple: opportunity is coming, and the path is clear. After a strong preseason debut, Berry sought Shedeur out and delivered direct praise. That wasn't a routine pat on the back, it was a deliberate public endorsement. It signaled how the Browns view him, not just as another quarterback on the roster, but as a priority investment with both on-field upside and off-field impact. The organization's actions, draft capital, roster moves, and visible support line up behind the same idea. They're betting on Shedeur Sanders and intend to give him every chance to grow into a central piece of this team.
Really, really good. Proud of you. All right.
Cool.
Really, really nice job.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
kinda proud.
Look, for the side, was a perfect no, but she made plays, she operated, it's just stacked.
I love when you tell the facts, dude. You know, but it's okay. It's okay.
Listen, you did a nice job.
Andrew Berry's bet on Shedeur Sanders is aging well, and the media is starting to echo that view. Mary Kay Cabot recently argued that Shedeur is the primary reason the Cleveland Browns remain in the conversation after a rough year. In her view, amid team-wide struggles, it's Sanders' presence, his profile, buzz, and flashes that kept Cleveland from slipping out of the spotlight entirely. Without him, she suggests, the Browns likely drift off the national radar. That ripple effect validates Berry's aggressive stance. The move wasn't just about a depth chart. It was about relevance and upside. Cabot also underscored that Shedeur isn't merely a headline. He's a quarterback with real runway to grow. His tools and poise are too substantial for Cleveland to park on the sidelines, and she pushed for a genuine opportunity to see what he can be with proper support. The calculus is straightforward. If he meets expectations, the Browns have a young centerpiece. If he doesn't, the organization can still reassess and pivot. Either way, the signal is clear. Berry's conviction in Shedeur Sanders has positioned Cleveland to capture attention now, while exploring a ceiling that could reshape the team's future.
It was too much value to pass up there, a developmental quarterback that they could take a look at and just kind of see what they had.
Right now, his upside clearly outweighs the downside. It's a bet the team can't ignore. After Shedeur Sanders' tough preseason outing, when critics jumped in, Andrew Berry didn't let it drift. Instead of excuses, he acted. He pulled the entire offensive line that had been on the field with Shedeur. That decision shook the building and made the front office's stance obvious. Protect the quarterback, give him a fair evaluation, and set him up to succeed. It signaled full investment in his development. Berry's move wasn't just a swap of personnel. It set a standard. He pushed for accountability, demanded changes, and focused on building a setting where Shedeur can grow instead of being put in losing spots. It's one of the strongest steps in reshaping the Browns roster and shows real trust in Shedeur's trajectory. There's also a bigger plan here. These choices aren't only about one game. They're tied to the long-term quarterback picture. With Dylan Gabriel's physical limitations and Kenny Pickett gone, the front office knows it needs a quarterback who can handle NFL speed and punishment. The post-Joe Flacco roadmap depends on getting this decision right. After all of that, Kevin Stefanski's latest comments flipped the tone. He's now publicly backing Shedeur's growth, regardless of outside noise. That's notable because Stefanski previously downplayed Shedeur's upside and critiqued him. With Pickett out of the mix, the focus has shifted. Shedeur's size, strength, and on-field tools are giving him a real edge over Gabriel. While there are ongoing questions about Gabriel's frame, Shedeur looks like the more complete option. That difference could be what pushes him up the Browns' depth chart.
I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
TJ Houshmandzadeh has weighed in too, saying the heat on Kevin Stefanski is rising, and a lot of it stems from Andrew Berry's aggressive choices. Houshmandzadeh pointed out that the microscope on Cleveland's quarterback plan is getting sharper, leaving Stefanski with little room for error. His warning was direct. If Stefanski keeps capping Shedeur Sanders' role or downplaying his importance, it could put his job at risk. With the front office and fan base tracking every move and Berry firmly behind Shedeur, any attempt to slow him down could push Stefanski onto the hot seat. Bottom line, Berry's steadfast backing of Shedeur Sanders now defines the Browns' quarterback landscape, and the ripple effects are everywhere. From the early draft push to the decisive preseason calls, Berry has made it clear he intends to give Shedeur a real runway. That stance hasn't just shifted the depth chart, it's also forced key figures, Stefanski included, to recalibrate their approach. What used to be a conversation full of doubts about Shedeur's ceiling has turned into a high-stakes pivot point, with Berry's conviction driving the agenda. As the pressure builds, Stefanski stands at a decision point. The spotlight on Shedeur, the expectations from fans, and the backing from the front office leave minimal margin for missteps. Stefanski has to balance his system with the reality that Barry's faith in Shedeur is now central to the team's direction. The future of the position in Cleveland may hinge on how well Stefanski manages that balance. With Barry all in, the trajectory looks promising, but Stefanski's choices in the coming months will determine whether Shedeur's rise takes off or stalls. What's your read on Andrew Berry's aggressive approach and the pressure on Kevin Stefanski? Do you back Berry's unwavering commitment to Shedeur Sanders? Or is it too much risk for a young quarterback? And how do you feel about Stefanski's shift in tone, given his earlier skepticism? Share your take below. Does this pressure cooker sharpen the Browns, or set them up to stumble?